Hello and welcome to the Sci-Fi. Christian, I'm Bendy Bono.
I'm Ben Kirkwald.
And we're here to talk about The Wolf and the Dragon, the Season 7 finale of Game of Thrones.
Yes.
And I'm going to go ahead and say it, though I'm guessing I'm going to be in the minority here. That was the best episode of the season by a long shot.
Are in the minority by a long shot.
Okay.
Episode 4 was the best of this season.
Was that the dragon one?
Yeah, where the dragons first introduced into battle.
Yeah. So, this episode, and we'll talk about our beer in a second, but we'll get our quick thoughts out of the way. This episode did what the rest of the season has failed to do. It slowed down and allowed for things to develop naturally. I felt like when we finally got to the points the season was leading up to, it satisfied many of the complaints that some of us have had about different points in the season. We'll talk about that as we go on. I thought that this is exactly what you want a Game of Thrones finale to be. Yeah, I thought the pacing was great, especially compared to the rest of the season. And it felt like a more of an old school Game of Thrones rather than the fast forward version we've been getting so far this year.
Yeah, I think that's why I was a little bit thrown off by this episode, because I wasn't sure how they wanted to play the episode. Because this is really a not stereotypical, but just a regular Game of Thrones episode before this season, where things are moving at a slower pace and we're not getting things boom, 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 boom. And it was longer, which clearly it needed to be, because that's the way that they're going to have to tell the story.
But there were still surprises, and there was big developments that happened, and the wall came down, and so there was enough finale stuff in there.
Yes, there definitely was, and I think that, I don't know, we'll get to each one maybe.
Yeah, I guess to me it felt like, okay, they're not as good as writers as George R. R. Martin, but this whole season they've been kind of building to stuff in the way that they built to stuff in the early seasons when they were still on his material, and then it felt super satisfying when you got there. Mm-hmm. And here it was like, okay, the lead up was clumsier than when we were on George's material, but when we finally got there, it really worked for me.
Yes.
For the most part. All right. So with that said, tonight we're going to drink Founder's Doom.
Yes.
So this is an Imperial IPA aged in bourbon barrels. It is 12.4%.
All right. That's a lot.
So
that's like wine.
Yeah. We who are about to die salute you. I think this is got to be lighter than that Scotch ale we were drinking last couple.
Did we look up the Scotch as 10.5?
No, that was heavier than 10.5. Though I will say that a high ABV stout usually hits me higher than a high ABV IPA. Not that, I mean, well, a darker beer. I know Scotch ale is a stout. But you know what I mean.
Right.
So I've had this beer before. You have not.
I've not.
So I bought a 4-pack, and then I bought this 22-liter, and after feeling how the individual 12-ounces hit me, I was like, well, I'll save this for Game of Thrones, because I don't think I can survive all 22 ounces.
I don't think anybody could.
I mean, you can, but...
It's good.
Mm-hmm.
It's really good.
Yeah,
it's pretty light.
Bourbon barrel aged IPA feels like a contradiction in terms, but the few bourbon barrel aged IPAs I've had are actually really good. So I'm not sure quite how you do it without the hop flavors fading, because that's what happens. Like IPAs get a few months old and they're kind of Maybe they just dry hop the hell out of it right before they bottle it or something.
Yeah, I don't know. It tastes good. I like it. Mm-hmm. It's really good. All right, there you go. Recommended.
Yes.
Founder's Doom.
Yeah, I think it was a limited edition deal, so probably can't find it anymore.
Well, if you can, go ahead.
Right. If you live in like Podunk, Iowa or something, and your liquor stores had just a ton of 4-packs sitting on the shelves for 6 months because all anybody drinks there is Miller Lite, you might just hit the jackpot.
I wish I lived there.
You know, yeah, you gotta imagine there's a few magical liquor stores out there where they just have the ultra rare, hard to find beers on their shelves.
Because the owner is super into craft beer, but his top sellers are Coors, Mick, and Bud.
Mm-hmm. Or the owner doesn't know what he has and the distributor told him it was a good buy. You know, but you hear about those stories every now and then. Like a friend of mine, I forget where he was, but Bell's Hop Slam, which is their honey IPA that comes out once a year, disappears really fast. He said that he was there like a couple months after it was released when you never could find it. He was in some rural liquor store and he just found a whole case of it. Like it's just sitting there.
All right.
There's probably a liquor store somewhere that has Surly Darkness in stock.
Just sitting there.
Just sitting there.
Cases of it.
Right. What's that shit? Where's my Budweiser?
Alright, episode.
Alright, Wolf and the Dragon. How about we talk about the Winterfell stuff first?
Yeah.
Because there wasn't that much of it. Now, okay, so before this episode, my line of thinking was...
Your prediction, one of your top 5 things you said, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, that Sansa was going to have her coup. That turned out not to be true. We'll talk about that in a second. But I started out defending... last week I was defending the Arya-Sansa storyline and criticizing the Let's Capture a White storyline. And I have now flip-flopped on those. Now I think that in hindsight the White storyline actually worked and the Sansa-Arya one did not.
Yeah. Which is weird because when you are presented with both of those storylines up front, like there is a clear winner with Sansa and Arya's storyline.
Yeah, in
but the way
abstract
that
it
they
sounds
both
good.
were resolved
Right.
was completely different.
Yeah, and that's kind of the conflict I've been having as I've been thinking about it the last few minutes. Obviously, an immediate reaction episode doesn't allow for a great deal of time for reflection, so opinions are liable to change. But that, like, in abstract, I kind of like the idea of Littlefinger getting caught in his own schemes and just eventually getting trapped in a situation he can't get out of, but that's also of his own making, like where he eventually just makes one move too many.
Right.
So in the abstract, I like that idea. In the execution, it felt like it was tacked on. And that's not how Littlefinger should have gone out.
No. Littlefinger should have gone out one of 2 ways. He either should have saw the White Walkers marching towards Winterfell and then died that way, knowing that he had worked himself into a situation that he can't undo.
Or that he, even better with that he had destabilized Westeros and now fucked the entire world.
Right. And so, that was a way for him to go out, or for him to get caught in one of his lies. But not like this. It just felt so kid movie-ish. Like, just, gotcha. Yeah, and it's just, I don't know. You could almost tell that the actors are kind of like, oh, Lord, really? Is this how we're going to do it? Like, could we write it, please? Like, you just, you couldn't feel the emotion from anybody.
Especially since, we've talked about in the past how Varys and Littlefinger are the two philosophical antitheses in this series. And then to have one of them go out like that on almost a throwaway scene, it was disappointing.
Yeah.
I feel like the exact same thing could happen to in the books, but if the execution was better, it would be satisfying. I think the execution in the end was just not there. So all of you who were complaining about that, and I know I was commenting, replying to some of our comments, and saying I'm in favor of this, I was wrong, you were right, it wound up sucking in the end. The other thing is that, as you pointed out, my prediction is what turned out to be wrong of Sansa staging a coup. and I'll wait to see how things play out. But as it stands right now, I like that storyline better.
Of her staging a coup.
Mm-hmm.
I think. Well, so in the book, she might stage a coup. Like if everything happens kind of as it is up to this point, and we get to here,
Yeah.
then I think that in the book she stages a coup or something, and then. But see, the problem is that they have 6 episodes, and
Right.
everybody's getting to Winterfell the next episode, and if everybody's getting to Winterfell the next episode, and now you deal with them before you deal with the White Walkers. There's just not enough time.
But see, here's the thing, like, and this is why I'm really glad that Cersei turned out to be her usual two-faced bitch self, because next season can't just be 6 episodes of fighting the White Walkers.
Right.
That's going to be really boring.
But you can't be fighting on 3 sides.
Yes, you can. Like that would be so cool. Like we get to the north, we're ready to go. Now the north is destabilized and Littlefinger's taken. That's what I'm. We have. You can't make this judgment without season 8. Okay, so I'm fully admitting that once we see what season 8 is, it may very well be that I look back at this and say they took the right path.
Right.
But in my mind right now, as I'm thinking about this story without having the whole picture in mind, it seems like it would have been more satisfying to see Sansa go down the Littlefinger path than to have what happened happen.
She still has a chance to go down the Littlefinger path. Just because Littlefinger's out of the way doesn't mean she can't go there.
Well, but I mean in terms of betraying her family and stabbing Arya in the back and like...
I still think there's a chance for a lot of that to happen. I mean, Bran somehow has to work his way into this storyline,
Right.
and there's going to be some...
So you're right. So again, that's why I'm saying
Right.
I'm reserving the right to change this opinion based on how things actually play out. But as they stand now, this feels less satisfying than what my prediction was
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
to me. You know, I mean, that's like the Matrix effect. I think I've talked to you about this. Like
Yeah.
how in between with the 2 Matrix sequels after Reloaded came out, and spoilers if you haven't seen it. Sorry,
It's been over 10 years.
Yeah, exactly. That's the limit, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Neo stops the little bots or whatever they are at the end of the Sentinels at the end of Matrix Reloaded, and then movies too weren't released very far apart. But there was all this theorizing. This was the early days of the internet still. But I remember reading theories online of that. Well, maybe they're actually still in the Matrix. Maybe it's a Matrix within a Matrix, and that was a really cool theory. That the machines had set up this kind of net matrix, a second matrix, and there was nested levels for people who couldn't accept one. That was really cool. And then Revelations came out, or Revolutions, or whatever the last one is, and
It was terrible. And
yeah, it's like it wasn't as good as what the theory was, and I'm
Yeah.
worried about that happening here with this storyline. Okay. I will say, though, that just watching Arya walk up and slit Littlefinger's throat was pretty cool.
satisfying.
Yeah.
I was alright with that.
Yeah. Then Sam arrives.
Yes. And just walks in and says, "Oh, hey, Bran, how's it going?"
I love Sam's reactions. Like, that's one of the best comedic parts of the
Right?
show.
He just, yeah.
Oh!
At a point where we needed some comedic relief. I think it's a little, well, no, I thought this scene was just a little weird, like, alright, I'm gonna tell you everything that Jon Snow needs to know, like, in case I die.
Yeah,
or-
it was a villain monologue. It's not the Bran's a villain, but you know what I mean. Like, you get to the stereotypical end of the movie, and the villain will reveal his entire plan to you, Mr. Bond, as you're about to die. It was a
Right.
monologuing scene. Yeah, but it was a satisfying one.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
like that because for all of us, R plus L equals J
Yeah.
people, which is everybody that follows the show. I don't think that was a surprise to anybody.
No.
But then we find out that Jon's actual name is Aegon Targaryen,
Yes.
which is, I don't know, seems significant.
Well, you remember in Dance of Dragons in the book, there's a false Aegon out there who's rumored to be the final son of the Mad King, And so it's obvious kind of what that's setting up. That he's not that guy, that character in the books is not really Aegon Targaryen, but what the rumor actually means is it's actually referring to Jon. And that was a connection I at least had not made yet.
Yeah, I had.
So that was kind of cool, especially, I don't know how much relevance the name Aegon would have if you haven't read the books, but that subplot at least seems to tie to it, assuming that that's what Jon's name is in the books as well.
Right. Which I'm sure it is. They wouldn't just
Yeah.
that up.
Yeah, I think so.
Right?
We also learned an important thing about Bran, that just because he can see everything doesn't mean he has seen everything.
Right.
In other words, he had to still be pointed by Sam to get there.
Right.
And that was significant. So he's not omniscient in the sense that he has all knowledge of everything. He still has to go and look.
He has the ability to see.
He has the ability to see everything, but he does not see everything.
Right.
It's kind of like, Sam being in the Citadel with all those books. They're all there, but he hasn't read them all. That's kind of... So that I thought was significant.
Yes.
And then we got that final scene with Arya and Sansa, which was fine. Reminiscing about Dad.
Yeah, I felt like that part was very episode 10 kind of a deal, where it's kind of wrapping up the season there.
You think we're going to go to credits, but the wall's still going to come down.
Alright, we got that a little bit later.
Okay, so that's all the Winterfell stuff. And I think you're right, we're going to spend a lot of time at Winterfell next year. Alright, so we start with King's Landing. Grey Worm is lined up outside of King's Landing. Bronn and Jaime are talking on the walls. The Dothraki arrive. I mean, this is a pretty cool setup. It's...
Yeah.
Okay. So, we've been bitching about, Tyrion's plan is kind of dumb to go get this white and show Cersei.
Right.
And then as this... And I need to really reflect on this, because I can't decide if I'm just getting caught up in the fan experience or if they actually did a good thing. But as the sequence started to unfold and you realize everyone's here, it was really cool.
Right.
And that's where I can't decide. Is this just, it's sort of like, I don't know how closely you follow the Avengers movies.
Yeah.
But the next Avengers movie, Avengers 3, is going to have a cast of millions in it. And I'm just rolling my eyes at it. Because it's going to... But then everybody else is really excited because all your characters are going to meet.
Right.
And it's that's the equivalent of when you're a little kid and you're playing with your action figures and you just get, Batman
just had
and
that
the
feeling
Ninja Turtle.
tonight, so.
Exactly. So I can't decide if I'm getting caught up in that, which if I am, I will correct myself later on. Or if this was a genuinely cool scene. I think a little bit of both. I feel like it was definitely an effective scene, and there was really good stuff throughout here. Yeah, but it was cool having everybody get together. It was cool having this convergence at King's Landing, seeing the Dothraki outside of King's Landing, seeing Bronn and Jaime and everybody get there, seeing Cersei getting ready and, giving Gregor his instructions to kill the silver-haired bitch first and then kill my brother. And, I just love Jaime's expressions when all this is going on.
He's just like, wait, what?
He has the expression on his face of, when you're dating a really, really hot girl and then you slowly realize she's insane.
Right.
It's like, oh, fuck, I need to get out of this relationship. And that went on throughout the whole episode, which is great. Then Pod and Brienne show up, which is still a little weird to me. Because... Okay, so let's think about this. So I think you were right last time that it wasn't a real Raven from King's Landing, but it was supposed to be Sansa and Littlefinger who sent them on their way.
Yeah.
But then they just kind of show up, and nobody...
No, I think that they must have gotten... Because they wouldn't be like, hey, we're here for the meeting, and they wouldn't be like, oh, great, you're on the guest list.
Right.
That, it is a little odd. I don't know.
So that wasn't entirely clear what happened.
Yeah, they just happened to show up. That's part of the, I guess that's part of the, everybody showed up, which was cool, but also illogical.
Yeah, it was mostly logical, but that part did strain purely. But it was cool, because Brienne and the Hound get to talk, and Tyrion and Pod get to talk, and Tyrion and Bronn are talking. I like that they let the journey to the meeting just kind of unfold.
Right.
That was nice.
Yeah.
Like, they had a lot of good character moments there.
I did have a feeling, so as everybody, all the enemies are just like standing in the pit together, surrounded by those people, I was like, is this like a red wedding moment? Are we going to call this like the red dragon pit? Like, what are we going to call this? Like, if everybody there dies, or like...
Yeah. Yeah, that would have been...
That would have been, yeah. I know, but it would have been something we didn't see coming.
That's true.
So...
But here's the thing with the Red Wedding. So, we didn't see it coming because we weren't used to this type of story. If you were used to the, like, if you go back and read the Red Wedding, you should have seen it coming. Like, in the books. It's completely set up with that type of story where you can see that Robb is living out his usefulness for the plot. And you can see it all, it's all relatively telegraphed within the narrative. The reason it's so shocking is because, especially when the book came out in 2000, 2001, fantasy still wasn't at that point. Fantasy was still in the Tolkien footsteps. And orcs don't show up and kill everybody at the Council of Elrond.
Right,
yeah. And so this, to me, even, I feel like we're now all a lot better trained at watching this type of story. And this, to me, it would have been nonsensical to have that happen.
Right. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, narratives are relatively predictable on a broad scale if you understand the type of narrative you're in. And that's why the Red Wedding was shocking, because people didn't understand the type of narrative they were in. That's why Ned dying was so shocking.
Right.
But once you understand the type of narrative you're in, having Ned die makes perfect sense there.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. It did, speaking of the Council of Elrond, it did have a Council of Elrond feel to it that was kind of cool.
Yeah. That's true.
Yeah. So, mostly good stuff in here. Euron was really annoying.
God almighty, just...
Like, I just wanted someone to kill him.
I wish that, like, I don't know, Jorah would have come up and slit his throat or something, and then it would have just been done.
Yeah, it's like the meeting starts, we're all excited. Hey, Theon! I got your sister! Like, shut the fuck up. Nobody cares.
But it makes you hate him more.
Yeah, but he's
more on the personal level.
Yeah, it wasn't like I don't hate him in the way I hated Joffrey. I hate him as in, what the hell is going on? Who let this clown into the show? He doesn't belong here.
But maybe that's the point. Is now because now we've seen all the kinds of evil, right? We've seen Joffrey, who just doesn't have a moral compass. We've seen Littlefinger, who plays the game. We've seen
Cersei, who does...
Well, Cersei.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then we've seen Ramsay, and Ramsay thoroughly enjoys killing people. And then we have Euron, who's just the stupid idiot. Just the stupid idiot that just happens to be evil.
Yeah, here's the difference, is that all the other characters were well written.
Well, he's not written. That's the problem, is he's not written in the books.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah.
He's a caricature.
Right.
It's like, what is going on here?
Yeah.
That was just dumb.
Yeah.
So his later outburst where he says, I'm leaving, and especially the way that was revealed later, that was good. His initial deal with Theon, they should have cut that.
Yeah, I'm surprised they didn't.
Yeah, well, HBO should have given them a 78-minute limit instead of 80.
Right? Oh my god.
Alright, so it goes on. We have the Cleganes meet. That was pretty cool.
So, I have a question about the Cleganes meeting. Because they meet, and he says something to the something to like, you know who's going to kill you.
He said, you know who's been coming for you.
You know who's been coming for you.
Yeah.
But is that him then?
Yes. Yes, of course it's him.
I know, but it just, the way he said it makes it sound like there's some third person like their father is still alive and he's gonna come kill him. Or
No,
something.
I mean, okay, so we watched Heat. You watched Heat for the first time a few months ago.
Yes, right.
Okay, so that line, like, really reminded me of Heat, and the whole conversation between McCullough and Hannah in the diner, where you're like, well, if I'm coming around the corner and I'm going to be coming to get you, and like they're just basically laying it on the table that I'm going to be coming to get you. I'm the one who's going to be sitting there with a gun on you when the time comes.
Right.
That's how that
Right,
felt
now
to me.
isn't the time, but I'm going to come for you eventually.
Exactly. It goes all the way back to season 1 with the tournament, and where Gregor is about to kill the Knight of Flowers, and then Sandor comes out and he fights him in there, and it's like he's been coming for him this whole time. So I took it more in kind of that sense, and I thought it was a really cool showdown.
Yeah. All right.
Okay, a lot of other good side meetings here. We have Qyburn. He got to see the White, and I think he got a boner.
Oh, he totally was like, how did I not see this?
Exactly.
Yeah, he was all about
It's
that.
like, can I go north right now?
So, yeah, I will be up there. I want to know how this works.
Yes.
Night King, can we sit down and have a meeting, please?
Yeah.
And tell me your ways. This is the first time in the series, I think, that we've seen Cersei, well, at least fake,
Shake it.
afraid.
I think she was genuinely afraid. I think that it's contextual though. Like she didn't say she wasn't afraid later. She said, I was afraid for me and my child.
Right.
And I don't care about anyone else. So I think she was genuinely afraid.
Yes, I think she was. And she did a really good job of
Yeah.
displaying that, because she has so many emotions and none of them are like smiling. Like it's all in the eyebrows, or I don't know exactly how she does it. But I mean, there was a difference between that and when Joffrey died. Like,
Yes.
she was fearful for her son at that point, but it felt more genuinely afraid, which you have to give kudos to her, because there's literally nothing in front of her.
Right.
Like, there's not a White there in the shot when she's shooting that, so kudos
Well,
to
yeah,
that.
Lena Headey and I'm blanking on his name. Peter Dinklage deserve Emmys for this episode, and we'll talk about their scene together later, which was just spectacular.
Yes.
Between the two of them. But yeah, her acting was off the charts good in this episode.
Right.
Alright, so then Euron announces he's going to leave. The truce is momentarily accepted. Jon screws it up.
Right? Because Jon's...
He's being
Well, he's
honorable.
an honorable man. That's the problem with honorable men. They can't be trusted.
Though, in Jon's defense, that shouldn't have screwed up the treaty. It screwed it up because Cersei's so petty. Like, what was she actually gaining by, you have to stay in the north?
Right.
Nothing.
It's like, no, not, yeah. It was, I don't know. That part seemed weird. I was trying to figure out the logic of all of that. Like,
So
you
was
can
I
stay in
until
the
I
north.
realized that we're dealing with Cersei, who's not a logical person, and she needed to win something there. I mean,
Right.
to me, that made perfect sense once you realized, once you remembered the type of person she is. And she's just so petty that she couldn't give in without getting something in return.
Right. She needed one thing at least.
Uh-huh.
Even if it was dumb.
Exactly. Which, for anybody who's ever been in a corporate meeting, entirely believable. So, don't criticize that scene too much. Alright, Brienne and Jaime have a nice scene together as they're leaving. Where they get to talk again. I mean, this is just fun to see everybody back together.
Right.
It's like a
And-
family reunion.
Yeah, and it's nice because, like, we don't need a whole bunch of catch me up for them to have a conversation.
Exactly.
Like, they can just dive right in where they left off. So,
Yeah, you can have. And there's a lot of that. A lot of good, quick, 30-second conversations in this episode.
right, and I like that. I mean, for
Yeah, I agree.
some viewers, I think it might seem like throwaway stuff, but I think that this is essentially a show about characters. It's not, well, it's more than that. But I mean, like,
yeah.
at least in the books, the the great part about it is that there's so much great character development. And the show did a decent job for a long time of trying to build up these characters. And so it's good to see them interacting with each other, even if it's not meaningful to the plot.
If anybody bitches about this episode being too slow, they you got a whole season that was on fast forward. We can have a few character moments here in the finale. All right, Jaime and Tyrion have a nice moment outside of Cersei's room. This whole Tyrion going to meet Cersei thing felt like the White scene in miniature, or the White plan in miniature. It felt like this is a really dumb idea, but when it actually played out in the show, it was really, really good to watch.
Right. Yeah.
Man, I wrote next to the Tyrion and Cersei scene, best scene in the season. Easily. And I mean, not the coolest. Like, we've seen really cool stuff this season, including at the end of the episode. But just in terms of raw acting.
Best dialogue scene.
Oh, acting and writing, easily the best scene of this season.
Yeah.
And both of them just knocking it out of the park. And, to me, like, those are the great scenes, whether it's in movies or in TV shows. When you get two actors at the height of their power in a well-written scene, and they're just allowed to run with the material. There's almost nothing in cinema that is as enjoyable as watching that.
Right.
And that was so good. It was so good just watching them hash it out. And like Tyrion talking about Myrcella and Tommen, and she keeps cutting him off, but it really matters to him. And oh, that was a great scene.
Yeah, I liked it. It's weird that Cersei is still just a bitch, though.
Well, of course she is.
I know, but just
of course
once
she is.
in your life.
Uh-huh.
But whatever, it's fine. She'll die in the end, right?
Yes, she will.
Or the bittersweet will be that the White Walkers were defeated, and Cersei is still on the throne.
That could be.
With her child. But at least the White Walkers were defeated.
Dany dies, Jon dies,
right,
Tyrion dies.
Yeah, everybody dies.
There's 10 people left in Westeros. She's the queen!
Right.
Oh, man.
Well, at least everybody. At least the White Walkers died.
So she announces that there's a truce, and they're going to get in on the action.
Right.
So you think everybody's going to be friends?
And then, all of a sudden...
Well, first they go to Dragonstone. But at this point I was thinking, okay, so next season, like, they're going to have to get to some point where this is going to have to break down or something next season. It's like, she can't... There's no way this truce is going to last. So I was fairly satisfied when it didn't happen.
Right.
Alright, so then we go to Dragonstone. We have Theon and Jon. That was a nice scene.
Yeah, I liked it. I mean... I think at that point too, I was like, we don't have a lot of time left, like, let's get going here, but at the same time, like...
No, only one more thing needed to happen. That was the wall coming down.
Yeah, but a lot more things happened after that.
That's true. But only one more thing needed to happen. Exactly.
Right, okay. So, yeah, I really liked it. I really thought that's the turning point for Theon at the very least, and so... Had a good talk about what makes you honorable. Essentially, it's just like not fearing death, right? I mean, just like you just need to accept that you could die doing what you're going to do.
Right. And a good conversation about Ned and how, and especially now that we know and Jon's about to know that he's kind of in the same boat as Theon, where he's not Ned's son. But yet Ned really is the father to both of them. And so I felt like it was a good... What he just told to Theon, he's going to need to tell to himself here in the next episode or two, once he finds out.
Yeah, that's going to be a thing when you... Well, never mind. We'll get there.
Yes. When you're slopping your aunt. Okay, then Theon goes and has his fight with the Ironborn, and this was just awesome. Because his turning point is that he tries to knee him in the balls.
Thank you, Ramsay. Thank you. That was... And then it's weird that he came up with all this strength afterwards. I don't know.
I don't care. I loved that scene. And you criticize it all you want. It might not have been a great scene, but it was a great scene.
It was a funny scene. It was, yeah. It was good.
The Theon's turning point is that he doesn't have any balls.
Right.
But he does have balls. Like
Right.
that.
Yeah.
That was that scene.
He's got balls that are on the inside.
He has balls on the inside.
Gotta get that checked out.
I just love that he's sitting there kneeing him and then, like the look on Theon's face.
He's just like, oh, that's right, I don't have any balls. Alright, I guess I'll kick your ass now. Like,
It was fantastic.
that was weird, yeah.
Okay, so then Jaime and Cersei have their conversation. And as you said, Cersei is still a bitch.
Yeah, and so I'm not sure how to read into this, but I found it extremely interesting that twice both of her siblings asked just kill me then, just be done with it.
That's true.
And she couldn't do it to either one of them. Which is like,
Yep.
has she, I guess she doesn't want to be a Joffrey, you know what I mean? Like, she doesn't want to be the person that just like kills everybody. Like, what's driving that part of her to not kill
Well,
them?
she genuinely loves Jaime.
Right.
In Tyrion's case, it would have been an act of war. So I mean, you could look at them independently, but you're right. I think that's significant that there is a parallel between those two scenes.
Right.
Especially with Gregor standing right there in both scenes.
In both scenes, right. Alone, too. I mean,
Mhm.
she had the opportunity to kill both of them, and she did not. And hopefully that's something that she'll regret later.
Yes, exactly. So Euron is actually going to Essos to get the army from the Iron Bank.
Right?
So this is setting up for a pretty cool season 8 because Dany thinks she's going to be fighting a one-front war and it's going to turn into a two-front war.
Right. And how do you deal with that? Who do you send where? And
Which,
that'll be...
yeah, which I'm actually glad about. I was kind of predicting, or have been predicting, that Cersei was going to bite it at the end of this season and that this season was going to kind of wrap up the war for Westeros and next season was going to be against the White Walkers. But now that I'm thinking about it more, like, you can't just have 6 episodes of fighting the White Walkers because they're not interesting. I mean, they're interesting, but they're not interesting in terms of the political
There's not a character
dynamics.
development.
Exactly.
Yeah,
they have
we're
one
not
purpose.
negotiating, we're not doing anything.
Yeah, and it's not going to be Game of Thrones without the backstabbing and everything. And so,
Right.
the fact that now we'll have this going on both fronts is how that'll be good.
Right. And it's a good lead-in from the book, where I believe in book 5, the Golden Company gets called away from somewhere. Oh my gosh, book readers, if you...
Oh, you're past me. I'm going to have to pay attention to
I'm
that.
pretty sure that the Golden Company gets called away from Marine or from, not Valyria, what's the city that Tyrion stops?
Volantis.
Volantis. One of those ones, somebody overhears some conversation about how the Golden Company is stopped fighting somewhere and now they're going to go fight somewhere else.
Interesting.
And so, not necessarily that like they were bought for the Westeros War. It could actually be that they stopped fighting for Marine and went to go fight, I don't know,
Yeah.
Karth or something. But
They're out there and they're switching sides.
right, they do switch sides. They are the Golden Company. They fight for gold. They don't fight for
Yep.
anything else. So, anyways, it would be really interesting if that was a cool tie-in. I don't think it is, but it would be.
No, but I bet you what it is in the books is that Martin's planting hints for that these people are out there and they are going to play a role eventually.
Okay.
Okay, as Jaime is leaving, we get some snow.
So he has to turn back.
He didn't turn back.
That's what it looked like to me. It looked like he saw the snow and turned back.
Okay, I'll have to watch that part again because I thought it was just that there was snow and then he kept going.
Oh, I thought he saw the snow and knew that he wouldn't be able to make it in the snow, so he turned back.
Well, we'll see. I'm not sure on that. Dany also got some snow, 6 to 8 inches.
Yeah. Targaryen, actually.
That's right.
It's actually her nephew.
Yeah, that joke doesn't work anymore.
So that was really weird to like have Bran narrating and then that happening at the same time.
Oh, we all knew it was coming.
I know, but that just like makes it even worse when you're Bran's
Okay,
the-
but what are the rules on that in ye old medieval times? Because, like, obviously in today's world, that's frowned upon. Kind of like doing your cousin is frowned upon, but back in medieval times,
Well,
a
the
cousin marriage
Targaryens-
wasn't that weird.
the cousins, cousins, but then Targaryens married brother and sister.
Right, so
That
by
was a
Targaryen
lot, yeah.
standards, this is like a distant relative.
True, very true. So,
Yeah, I mean, it's weird, but I'm not sure if it's weird for us or if it's weird. Like, how weird is it in that context, in that world?
well, we know brother and sister is weird.
Yes, brother and sister, I think, has always been weird, everywhere.
That's what makes me think that one of them, either Danny or John, is going to die before the end of the series, because we're not going to find out how weird it would have been.
That you're probably right.
So, one of them. I guess I'm really not sure which, to be honest.
Yeah,
But one of them will die because we're not going to have that issue.
Danny goes down with the dragons.
John goes down in a selfless act to save Westeros.
No, here's why the Danny one works better. It's because the arc of the show is that magic is coming back in the world, the White Walkers are coming, dragons are coming, and then that all recedes and the cycle starts over again. We have a recession of White Walkers, we have a recession of dragons, they're gone. And now,
but we're talking 300 years ago, they came over with their dragons.
oh, it's more than that.
No, it wasn't it?
Yeah.
I thought 300 years ago he came over with his dragons.
No, the Targaryen conquest was quite a bit more than that.
Was it?
I'm very sure, but not 100%
Did
sure.
the last dragon die 300 years ago?
That
Is
could
that
be it.
what it
Yeah, I
is?
think that might
Oh,
be
okay, that might be it. So,
But
alright, well then
yeah.
never mind, then that doesn't work.
I mean, you could be right. I'm just saying thematically that seems to be the arc we're going to take.
Right.
And that the cycle then begins again, and they put on all these protections to defend against the next round of White Walkers. But guess what? You know,
You have to wait, what is it, 8,000 years
Yeah,
since
something
the
like
last
that.
one?
something like
Since
that.
the last time the White Walkers took over the realm? It's a long time.
Yep. Alright, Aegon Targaryen. Okay, and then finally, the wall comes down. That was pretty cool.
That was pretty cool. Blue fire,
Yep.
which by the way, in a science fact here, orange and red fire is actually the coolest fire.
Right.
Like in temperature wise.
See, I don't know anything about science, but I did know that.
And then white fire is actually the hottest fire, followed directly behind by blue.
Yeah.
So that actually means that dragon has a more powerful.
I bet they
Fire
did it
then.
just because it looks cool.
I know they did, but scientifically,
Scientifically.
No.
Are Tormund and Beric dead or alive?
They're alive because they're on that side of the wall that's still up.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Because
yeah.
they got shoved over and then the wall collapsed, and they weren't on the side that actually collapsed. They're on the side that's still up. So now they're gonna run across the top of the wall over to.
See, this is your science explanation. They're alive because they were over there. I was gonna say they're alive because the story demands that at least Beric is still alive. Like, this is science major versus English major.
Well, no,
The narrative still requires Beric to be alive at least.
Does it though?
Yes, it does.
Was
Because they
his-
set that up last week where he says to Jon, the Lord of Light resurrected two of us, and he did it for a purpose, so Beric can't die yet.
But perhaps his purpose was served by bringing the white down to King's Landing.
No, and this is again, my literature interpretation skills
I hate
is
those.
that was a setup, that was a foreshadowing, and we have not yet seen the foreshadowing of that.
Do you think they foreshadowed the end already?
Probably.
Like, do you think they have, there's a throw-off line somewhere?
Zombie Ned just takes over.
Zombie Man takes over. My favorite theory that we're not going to do this season is that Ned is not actually dead.
Did we do that last week?
Is that what Emily did? That's what Emily did.
Yeah, we did that last week.
Yeah, okay, you're right. Yeah, he warged into some. I was trying to remember what it was.
Yeah, so this week we're gonna in a few minutes we'll do
We'll do the after show. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's when things are gonna get crazy.
yes, we'll do that. Ned is actually on the side of the White Walkers,
Yeah.
so that'll be fun. But yeah, so this was just a satisfying scene to me. You knew it was going to happen eventually. I think after last week you knew how it was going to happen. So, after the episode ended, I was claiming credit for predicting it.
And I told
think
him that, yeah.
Everybody predicted it. I mean,
You also predicted it like 4 weeks ago. You're like, it's gonna happen this week. It's gonna happen this week. It's gonna happen this week.
That's true. That's true. But I underestimated their ability to simultaneously hit fast forward and drag things out.
Right. Even in a 7-episode season, they still have to drag things out.
So, when do you think we're going to see season 8?
It will be on its regular timeline in March or April
2019.
2019.
Yeah, I think that's probably right. So about a year and a half or so.
Yeah.
I gotta think they're gonna be filming it fairly soon, but man, there's gonna be a lot of effects works. We should be really glad that this is such a hit, because this is not the type of show where, no matter how generous HBO is feeling with some of their low-rated shows, there's no way that they could have kept this thing on if it was getting 2 million views an episode. You know?
Right. 20 million an episode.
Yeah.
Or whatever they're doing.
Well, I think their official, the people who actually watch it while it's live on HBO Go or Now or
Right.
cable, it's at around 10 to 11 million right now.
Right.
Which, the record for that is The Sopranos finale, which I think was 11.8. And I'm going to go out on a limb. Obviously, numbers aren't in for tonight. Tonight's beats 12. This will be the highest rated HBO show of all time, I bet.
The series finale for sure will be.
We'll probably hit 20, I would guess.
Yeah, there'll be a lot of people that want to watch it live.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully it's going to be like a worldwide event.
Well, when
It's
you
been a
add in
long
the
time.
pirating numbers, 90 million people are watching this show. It's crazy.
No. And HBO is doing actually a fairly, comparably, a fairly decent job trying to crack down on pirating.
Yeah.
More so than most.
Yeah, don't pirate stuff, people.
But just it's $15 a month,
Exactly.
and you only have to pay for 2 months. That's $30 to watch this.
Exactly.
That's like a whole wing of a dragon in one scene that you just paid for.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. In one shot of one scene.
Right, yeah.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
not true. They probably, a lot of, especially the White Walkers, a lot of it is just stock footage at this point.
Yeah. No, the big effects are the dragons, and yeah, but, just don't pirate stuff, because that's how they get money for cool stuff like this. And HBO's, there's plenty of asshole companies out there, and I'm sure HBO has their part of that too, but they're putting good stuff out there, and they took this obscure fantasy series that was such a cool thing if you were one of the few people who knew what it was, and now everybody knows what it was.
Right.
And they do it to make money, and if they don't make money, they're not going to do more of it. And there are a lot of, because I read fantasy, so there's a lot of other cool series out there that hopefully, now that this is the thing, will get made in the future, but only if they can make money off of it. So just don't be an ass. All right. On that morality lecture, anything else before we go to the
one more
after show?
prediction for next season.
Okay.
All right. Will we have book 6 by the time next season rolls around? If it rolls around, March 2019.
Okay, by March 2019, will we have book 6?
Yes.
Yes. Yes. I think we'll see it by the end of next year.
Do you remember when we said that? When I started the show in season 3?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not going to bet my children on it or anything. But, is there any less sure bet than George R. R. Martin releasing a book? But I think he's close.
He's gotta be. Maybe it'll be like a Volume 1, Volume 2 for Book 6, the way he wants it.
Yeah, I think it will eventually go to 8 books when all is said and done.
Right. Alright,
But
well,
I have a feeling there won't be a long wait between 7 and 8. I think it will be essentially a Volume 1, Volume 2.
right.
He'll write the whole thing, it'll be too big to publish, and it'll get published in 2 parts.
Can't wait.
Alright, so I'm loading up the theory here. We'll go to the end, and then we'll come back and go for a little bit more.
Alright.
Alright, so this is the Sci-Fi Christian. I'm Ben DeBono.
I'm Ben Kirkwall.
Oh, this is where I say it. This is Sci-Fi Christian.
Oh, whatever. Before you get to your theory, fun, well, creepy fact. So I went camping last weekend.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot to mention this on last week's show. So we went camping and we were out, we were having a bonfire. All the kids were in bed, in the tents. And then all of a sudden, just out of nowhere, all these crows start cawing. And it's just like, they're just surrounding us in the trees. Caw, 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 caw. And I was like, and it kept growing. Like, there was more that were coming in.
Yeah.
I could, like, hear their wings, and they were, like, in the trees above us. And I was, like, getting kind of freaked out, because I knew that scene with Sam.
Yeah.
Right? And then, swear to God, you can ask Emily this. Then, all of a sudden, on a snap of a finger, they all stopped. And I was like, I need to go somewhere.
That's weird.
Grab my pants, like, I don't know if that's like a thing that crows do and it just like happens.
I mean, they caw, but I don't.
I've never, that was weird.
I'm not a bird guy.
It was
so
really weird.
I would say that based on my bird knowledge, the devil was probably involved somewhere at some point with that. I don't have much bird knowledge.
Emily would agree because she hates birds.
Oh, I hate birds too. Yeah, so here's the thing with birds. They crap every 5 minutes. And I know this because when I was a teenager, my mom got 2 parakeets. And they would go all over the house and just crap all over everything. And here's the worst part about only thing worse than having a bird is having 2 birds. Because they fly to opposite ends of the house and then yell at each other.
Oh my God.
Oh, it was horrible.
Oh, that sounds terrible.
Yeah.
I learned from a friend of mine who, I don't know, likes birds or whatever, that you should never park your car under a tree.
Oh yeah, they'll crap all over it.
Well, but it's not. Birds apparently, when they take off, lose like involuntary like bladder movement.
Oh god.
So that's why they poop. Is like they poop as they're taking off because they need all their strength for their wings, so they just release their bladder
Stupid
while they're
birds.
doing it. So that's just what I heard from a friend. I don't know if it's true. Maybe we have some crap. What's a birdologist called? Like a.
I think a birdologist.
It's like a crappy job. That's what it's called.
Yeah, I mean birds are just the worst. Though chickens are kind of funny. Like chickens, like if you ever just look at a chicken, everything about it just seems wrong. It feels like they should have little arms or something, but they don't. It's like watching a person without any arms run around. It's hilarious.
That's why it's the closest living relative to dinosaurs, like T-Rex. And
Yeah,
chicken.
something like that. Yeah.
All right, theory.
Okay. Ned Stark, and I only scanned this, so I don't know the details, but Ned Stark is in league with the White Walkers.
Oh God.
Ned Stark was the hero at the beginning of Game of Thrones. He was kind. He was a kind, honest man who loved his family and his king, and above all was honorable to a fault. He is a good man, or so we are led to believe. I always love the hook that they put in there.
Right.
That's important. Ned can actually be seen as one of the chief villains of the whole series, an architect of much that has happened. The Starks have a stake in Winter, but it isn't necessarily on the human side. Okay? Firstly, we must look at the Starks' motto, Winter is coming. This is a very strange motto. The other houses have mottos.
We did this.
Did we do this one? No, we haven't done this one.
No. Are you sure?
You and Emily read all of them, so you probably read this one.
Maybe that's what it is. Well, this line was in last week's one about the winter is.
Yeah,
Maybe
that's
all right. Anyways,
the other houses have mottos that boast of their strength, such as the Lannisters' Hear Me Roar and House Baratheon's Ours and Fury. In fact, House Stark is the only house whose motto speaks not of their own power, but an external threat. Or does it? Well, yes, it does. That's kind of the point. Could Winter is Coming actually be warning as to the power of House Stark? It would certainly fit far better with the other house mottos. The Stark home of Winterfell is a strange, mysterious place, and in A Dance with Dragons, the story hints that the winter is coming not from the north, but from Winterfell itself. Well, I think that theory got thrown out in this episode, but let's keep going.
well, I have a theory that was confirmed in this episode. We'll talk about.
Okay.
All right.
At the wall, characters talk about how the winter wind is coming from the south. We also see the winter encroach across the Riverlands and towards King's Landing, showing that it is traveling southwards. So winter is emanating from a central spot, a spot where Winterfell is. That's pretty dumb. It could be that the wind is coming from the south on the wall, because to the north they have a giant wall that's blocking the wind. Just a thought. The idea that there must always be a Stark in Winterfell is one that is constantly repeated. That's true. Can it be any coincidence that when the Starks left, winter began? And what if the terrifying Winterfell crypts where the Starks store the bones of their dead? All the dead bodies are armed with swords, which is useless for a corpse until you remember the White Walkers are able to reanimate the dead. And what better than an army, an undead army, which is already armed? Okay. With the above evidence, the Starks can be seen to be allied with the White Walkers, perhaps even controlling them in some way. The Starks already led 2 uprisings against the lawful kings of the day in recent years. There's nothing stopping them from leading an uprising against mankind. As a final piece of evidence, consider the scene where Ned Stark has his leg broken. The physicians talk of his broken bone, proof that inside Ned Stark hides a terrifying skeleton. Okay, they're not even trying at this point.
Hides a skeleton.
And we
Did
know
you know that inside of you is a skeleton?
That's a shocker.
This person did not pay attention in anatomy.
And we know the White Walkers have skeleton servants. The last we heard, Ned Stark's bones were on their way to Winterfell. Who knows what terrors they will unleash once they arrive. That was just retarded.
Well, there was that line.
Dumb.
Before the Crypts of Winterfell, what was the line right before that? That one I liked. That was viable. That was the only viable line in the whole thing.
Oh, the idea that they are storing their undead, the dead there?
No, before that. Like right before
Okay. And what if the terrifying... Can it be any coincidence that when the Starks left, winter began?
That's, yeah.
Well,
I buy that.
that's totally a coincidence.
Well, is it a coincidence? Well, it might be a...
I
a
buy that
narrative.
we could see the crypts of Winterfell come back to life when the Night King gets there.
I'm not saying I like that. I'm saying that might be... that the fact that the Starks left Winterfell could be a reason for the White Walkers gaining... I could buy that. George R. R. Martin, he could write that into something.
Okay, but the idea that Ned has... I mean, that was lazy.
But
I apologize. That was a shitty theory. I mean, they're all shitty theories, but that was a shitty theory.
So the theory that it's only like a 6-minute video. We'll have to listen to it after the after show.
Okay.
The after show. I watched it last night. It was, I don't know. Emily thought it was okay. I thought it was alright. Something about Rhaegar has this kind of the same thing that Bran kind of does.
Okay.
And so he kind of sees like what's coming in the future, or anyways, he realizes that where he needs to be and how to save Westeros is he needs to wed a Stark and create Jon.
Okay.
And actually in the video, they call him Aegon.
John Aegon.
Yeah. In the video.
Okay.
That was made well, it wasn't made yesterday, it was actually made like a year ago. So
Yeah,
they don't call
but
John Aegon, but like they allude to Aegon Targaryen being the one that like comes back to save
the prince that was promised.
Yeah, the prince that was promised and that whole bit.
Okay, but here's the thing. There is zero evidence. There's absolutely no evidence that Bran can see the future. Or that his ability has anything to do with the future.
The way that they worded it in the video, I have to watch it again.
Okay.
It was late. It was like midnight. When we
I
watched
understand.
That, so. But anyways, it could be. If it is, we'll post a link in the description.
Yeah.
If it's not, then you won't see a link in the description.
Or if I get too lazy. So one or the other.
You don't even. It's a hyperlink. My God, it's copy paste and then hyperlink.
What are you gonna do?
So lazy. Can't you move your fingers? Then I'll post it in the comments.
Okay, I like that point.
Oh,
Speaking of the comments, we heard from Tim in the comments.
Yes.
Long-time viewers will remember Tim Pancras, who used to record with us, and does not. Tim, you said you were going to show up for some this year. If you're still watching.
Tim.
Too late. Too late. Season's over.
You can come next year. Welcome to come.
There's not going to be a show next year until 2019. So.
Well, you can come the next season.
Yeah,
You're welcome.
that's true. But
Tim, there's 3 chairs.
That's
It's a lot better than the last time you were here. I don't even think he's been in the office.
I don't think he has either. Certainly hasn't been with this setup.
Tim, you don't even know what you're missing. I mean, you can put your legs up. You can there's a 150-inch screen. There's no mosquitoes anymore.
That's right.
There's a lot of pluses here. Get over here just for one episode.
Yeah, exactly. This is the place to watch. Yeah, I really like my screen.
I know. It's like a movie theater. When they start releasing movies for, what is it?
They had another news story. They're talking $30 a pop now.
What? They're going to be giving them away.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
With
surprising.
a few friends together, you're all set.
Well, at $50, you get 5 friends.
Yeah, that's the cost of the movie ticket.
Right. Get 3 friends at $10.
The problem is
easier.
that I don't like most new releases, and so people are going to want to come and watch Spider-Man or something. I don't care about Spider-Man.
Well, then don't buy it.
I know, but people are going to want to come here because I've got the setup.
Oh. Well, no, introverts will come here. Because if it's the same cost as it is to go to the movie theater,
That's true.
then this is really just taking out the movie theater experience.
That's true.
That's the only benefit.
Yeah, the movie theater experience sucks. Let's just
I don't know, have you been to the AMC in Coon Rapids?
I have.
They have the new movie theaters out here in Minnesota. They just started maybe like 5 years ago, where they have like these chairs where they go up and you can recline your feet, and it's
Yeah, they also have a glass bar that cuts off the bottom of the screen, and so
you're not short. No, it doesn't. You're not short.
It does.
Those short people. Maybe
When you recline the whole way, it does.
Why are you? That's sleeping mode. Don't sleep.
The last movie I saw at the AMC Coon Rapids was The Dark Tower, and I wish I would have slept through it. That was an awful movie.
I wonder if I would like it.
I doubt it.
No.
No, it was just a bad movie.
That's what I heard. This last weekend was the worst weekend in box office history.
Yeah, it's because we all have huge TVs. I mean, okay, I got the projector set up, but you think about 10 years ago even, 15 years ago, nobody had these huge widescreen TVs.
Yeah, I remember when my parents got a 27-inch TV, I was like, this is amazing, you can see stuff on here.
Yeah, I have a 32-inch computer monitor over there.
Oh.
And it's cheap. I bought that thing for less than $200.
Right, yeah, I know, yeah. It's craziness.
Yeah, I'm just waiting for the 4K projectors to come down in cost a little bit, because I really want to get a 4K
4K projector.
Yes.
Do you have to shut off the fans to make that work?
No, it would be the same setup here and everything.
Yeah?
But yeah, no, that would be awesome.
You able to see the stubble?
Yes.
count the hairs on their head.
Yes.
Don't you have to have something that was shot in 4K in order to be able to use it though?
Well,
Because that was the initial problem with HD. Is
well,
like,
but here's the thing: is that if you're talking about digital or film, so digital, yes, but most stuff is being shot in high resolution. Film, the standard for most movies is 35 millimeter when they were shot in film, and that's roughly the equivalent of 8K from what I've read. Occasionally you get something that was shot in 70 millimeter, like Lawrence of Arabia or 2001, and that's roughly the equivalent of 16K.
jeez.
So, like, you have a ton of movies that, yeah, they're still coming out on Blu-ray, but they have 4K restorations, so they're being transferred. Like my Lawrence Blu-ray has a 4K restoration on it, so that's being transferred from a 70 millimeter negative to 4K. So it's still, just a quarter of what's really available. Like the resolution that negative could offer is 4 times what's there right now.
I don't even know what you like. It would look real. Like,
Oh yeah. I mean, seeing 2001 in 70 millimeter, which I did last fall, was just a divine experience. That was incredible.
was that before or after your child was born again?
That was after. No, Lawrence was the one I saw the day
Lawrence
she was
is
born.
That's right.
Yeah. That might not have been my proudest moment as a parent and as a husband. Okay, so just because that makes me sound like an ass if I don't explain the whole story.
Well,
Okay, I have a good excuse. So first of all, just to make things very clear, I was there when she was born, and I was there many hours before she was born. But I had tickets to a 70 millimeter screening of
and
Lawrence.
you had gotten these tickets like 3 or 4 months in
Yes.
advance, like,
Yeah, this only day.
Right.
Only time. So, the morning of the screening, my wife had a little spotting, which I don't want to get too graphic, but it's, it's the type of thing where you're 9 months pregnant, you want to go have the doctor check it out. Okay, so we go to the hospital in the morning of the screening, and we're sitting there, and the doctor's like, well, you're fine, we're going to run a few more tests, but you're probably fine. And so we're going to have to wait there for a test, so I said to Annie, can I go to the movie? She said, yes, because she's not in labor. This is really important. She's currently not in labor. She's about to be, but no one's aware of that. So I went to Lawrence of Arabia. And then when it was over, and she's in labor, I went back to the hospital then. But I got there like 8 hours before the kid was born.
And to be fair, it was your 4th kid.
Exactly.
I mean,
she could do that on her own. And back in the day, dads weren't even allowed in the delivery room. So I feel like I did well. And I called her during the intermission to see how she was doing.
That's right.
So that was fun.
You called her on the way there.
Exactly.
And you said, should I turn around and come back?
Exactly.
And she said no. So you had, you didn't have permission, but you didn't have not permission either.
Exactly.
So it worked out fine.
I got the best of both worlds. I got to be there for the birth, and I got to see Lawrence in 4K. And in 70 millimeter.
We're super nervous because, well, we're not super nervous, but inside, I don't know if our school is built like a lead box apparently.
Oh, you don't get a cell phone signal?
Not inside the school, you don't.
Well, there's got to be a landline to the office or something.
Yeah, so we'll all have landlines in our. So, but now she's gonna have to like call the school. They're like,
get my husband now.
Get my husband on the line now, and I'm gonna be like in the middle of a lab and let the phone ring.
Yeah. Well, if it's around that day, you'll answer the phone.
What if it's 2 weeks early or something?
That's true.
I mean, who knows?
That's true. But yeah, seeing a movie, and if you ever get a chance to see a classic like that in 70 millimeter, take it. I mean, it's a stunning experience.
We still have to go see Dunkirk.
Yeah, well,
We've
yeah.
got a day here,
We should look at our calendars and figure this out
All right.
before it leaves
right?
the IMAX theaters.
One at Southdale. Is
Mhm.
the best one?
Well, Southdale, we'd probably do Maple Grove. They've got their IMAX
Oh,
there.
that's right. I
Yeah.
forgot about that. Maple Grove. That's good. That's close.
Mm-hmm.
It's 8 minutes away.
I'll send you some dates that might work.
All right, that'd be perfect.
yeah, Dunkirk is worth seeing in that. I mean, Christopher Nolan still shoots on film, and a story came out this last week about how he sunk a $500,000 IMAX camera during the filming of this. He recovered it, but like to get his shot, they sunk the. Yeah.
So is it like usable still?
Oh yeah, I think so.
Then it's fine.
But still, you know, you're out there in the ocean, sink a.
Yeah, but like, how much did that movie make?
Right.
Like a $500,000 camera. That's a big deal, but not like.
That's
the
true.
Biggest deal.
That's true. I mean, you know, but the cameras for the 70mm film. I mean, like you're talking about a negative like that big.
Right.
It's huge.
Yeah.
You know, so these are not small cameras, and then because there's long sequences in the film that involve these Spitfire fighter planes. So he put an IMAX camera into a Spitfire, which I think required some modifications.
Yes.
But yeah, like when I went to Lawrence, they had the canisters that the film came in lined up in the lobby. They're huge canisters. Yeah, it was like 10 feet long.
Did you see the X's in the corners?
Where
like in Inglourious Bastards, or they have to like switch over the film?
Yeah, you see those when you're
watching.
watching.
That's
yeah,
cool.
Of course.
That's cool. I like that.
Yeah, I just saw Casablanca last week in 35mm.
Never seen. I don't think I've seen a lot of classic movies. Won't be able to see Gone with the Wind anymore.
Yeah, that's off the approved list. I
yeah,
suppose.
apparently, because it was made a long time
But you know,
ago.
it's the time it was made, and there's class like I've got Birth of a Nation back there. I haven't watched it yet, but I'm gonna watch it, and not because I think the Ku Klux Klan is great, because it's classic film. You know, it's the history of cinema, and I think we can all just appreciate that. It doesn't mean that we have to take it as a life lesson.
Right. We don't need our Starbucks liberalism being brought in.
Exactly. Just let it be what it was. You know, move on with your life.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so you've never seen Casablanca?
No.
Man, we're gonna have to do some movie nights.
We're gonna,
movie education nights.
Education. All right.
Casablanca's a good one because it's completely accessible. Like
I can get it on a first viewing.
Exactly. Like there's movies that are worth watching where you kind of have to sit down and have the talk before, and then the talk during, and then the talk
like
after.
2001.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, 2001's not accessible.
Yeah, I should have watched that one on my own.
Exactly. Or you should have watched it in a 70mm projection, then you're just overawed by the whole thing.
Right.
Your whole life.
I should have
changes.
come over, watched it with you, and then you could have walked me
Anytime. 50th anniversary comes out is next April.
Is it?
I hope they do a major release for it.
In 70?
Well, both. Yeah, I hope they do another 70mm screening around here, but I hope they do a major Blu-ray release of it.
Oh.
Because there's not. There's a Blu-ray release, but it's nothing special.
Yeah, it's weird. It's such a big movie because I feel like I'm a pretty mainstream guy. Like, you enjoy like your Stanley Kubricks and stuff, and like I get most of them. Like Full Metal Jacket, I like that movie. But then like 2001, it's pretty trippy when you're looking at it from a mainstream point of view. Like I'm surprised it is as popular as it is.
Well, that's the thing about the time it was released. Like, there was nothing like that. You're talking pre-Star Wars.
Are you really?
Yeah.
When was that released?
1968. So 50 years next year.
I
Yeah.
thought it was like 1980.
No.
Oh, he did a good job for 1968. All right,
Yes.
well that's impressive. All right, good job, Stanley.
You know, you're talking about the 60s when we're going to the moon. And
Well, we're not to the moon yet.
Exactly.
All right.
So it was a huge cultural touchstone in terms of that stuff. So there was enough there at the time it was released for a popular audience to grasp onto.
Right, the moon scene and the space, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, you look at the shots in there, and there are shots that are directly influential of Star Wars. in that movie. Just in terms of how, the Star Destroyers are shot and everything. There are sequences that feel like they're just completely lifted from 2001 in Star Wars.
Well, the scaling of the ship is definitely one of them for sure.
Yeah. And you had big stuff like NASA was consulting on the film and everything, and so there was a lot of. I think if you were in the '60s as a popular audience, there was enough there to make it feel like you would have been into it as a popular audience at the time. You wouldn't have gotten it, but you were.
But I would have been there and I've been like, that was weird, but all right, we went to the moon.
Yeah, but how many people go to movies where it's the latest groundbreaking effect, and they love it just because of the effect? I mean, very different example, but Avatar is the same thing.
That's what I was gonna say, yeah. And people loved it because it was because of the effect.
Yes.
They didn't realize it was Fern Gully again.
Exactly. It's like the movie sucked, but people just wanted, to see this cool new technology and everything.
And it was cool new technology. He did a really good job with it. Didn't win the Oscar. His ex-wife did, but that's besides the point.
Yeah, well, he shouldn't have for that one.
Well, I didn't see Zero Dark 30. Or, no.
Hurt Locker?
Hurt Locker.
Yeah, I don't care for the Hurt Locker. I mean, here's the thing about the Oscars. The Oscars are a complete fucking joke. Like, you cannot decide what the best movie of a given year is that year. You just can't.
Whoa. You mean Forrest Gump is better than Shawshank? Or not better than
Not better than Shawshank. Yeah, exactly. In fact, probably none of those movies that are nominated are the best movie of 1994. I have to go back and check, but...
That's a pretty shitty year, though, because there was another movie, too. It was Forrest Gump, Shawshank, Pulp Fiction. Like, what a great year for cinema in general. And then to all be lumped into one year just sucks.
But I bet none of those movies are the best movie in 1994.
You look it up. I do not believe. I believe that one of the three movies that I just listed.
Okay.
Forrest Gump. Well, Forrest Gump isn't the best. It's Shawshank Redemption or Pulp Fiction.
Okay, we had this discussion about 1997 a few weeks ago.
Oh, God.
So here's how we're going to do this. So there's a website called They Shoot Pictures, Don't They, that has a compilation of different lists on it and has the 1,000 best movies based on the compilation of different lists. So I'm just going to type in 1994.
Yeah.
So Pulp Fiction is the highest rated. The second highest rated is an old favorite of ours, Satan Tango, which is the 7-hour Hungarian movie that I love. Yes!
Is it really? What's third?
Chungking Express, which is good. I don't like it as much as some people. And then Kozlovsky's Three Colors Red. The Three Colors trilogy is just magnificent. I might choose that one as my favorite. I don't know. Satan Tango is really good. Pulp Fiction. Okay, Quentin Tarantino is a hack.
Oh, for sure, 100%.
Yes, I mean, he's an interesting hack and an entertaining hack, but the guy has no original thoughts. And
he had the original thought to not have original thoughts.
Yeah, exactly.
That was his original thought.
The more you watch of old movies from the 70s, especially like any exploitation or...
No, any movie.
Yeah,
any movie
he rips
from
them
the
off.
70s, yeah.
So I have a couple of movies back here, Lady Snowblood and Lady Snowblood 2. And you watch those movies, it's Kill Bill. It's a Japanese samurai revenge movie from the 70s. He just ripped it off for Kill Bill, and then you go and Google it, and it turns out that he was screening them for the cast when they were filming Kill Bill.
Where's Shawshank on this list?
Okay, so Shawshank would be Pulp Fiction, Satan Tango, Chungking, Three Colors Red, Through the Olive Trees, which I have not seen, but it's Abbas Kiarostami, who is a great director from Iran. Then Shawshank Redemption, and then Forrest Gump. Trying to see if I've seen any others in here. Three Colors White is very good. That's lower down on the list.
Goodbye.
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 Goodbye.